Okay, let's figure out what we want to do. We can do a D5. Yeah, 290, we've already done them. We got 5 T's, Q's. Let's see, we could do a 360. Let's see, we have a, see that? D5 silver. Okay. I'm gonna break the seal on this puppy. Let's see what's inside. Okay, I'm gonna move the camera for this. Okay, hopefully I'm halfway on there. So we have some decals. The manual and some tools. This is the D5. And we got an air filter cover. A plug wrench. Spark plug screwdriver, Phillips, accommodates 2 different size plugs. We have a bag of Allen wrenches, a universal wrench, and this doodad. Not sure what that's for yet. Okay. Also we have the USB charger. A gas tank, which these are marked right here. Probably know you can't see that on camera. And right here. So you would fill this up to here with 2-cycle oil in this little compartment. And then you would fill this up to this line with gasoline to get your 25-to-1 mixture. Okay, we also have what looks like some body clips, some axle dust caps, and some odds and ends screws, which I think are for the body. Okay, the wheels. Let you get a good look at these. 24mm hex. These things are fairly heavy, really heavy duty plastic. A lot heavier than I would have thought they'd be, but heavy duty. really heavy duty. And of course we have 4 of those. Well, hopefully there's 4 of those. There's the last one. One more close look at these. Give you an idea on the size. About 5 inches diameter inside. Tire width. The tire height. And the back set. Okay, we'll move the camera back to the ground here. Okay, let's see if we can get this puppy out of the box. I can just lift it out of the box. I think I'm going to try to slide it out. You can put this flap out. So, slide this puppy out of here. In this box we have the receiver, which we'll get to later. These are quite a beast. Back over here. I'll bring the camera back and get you some measurements. So to give you some idea, perspective, let me grab a pop can here. Okay, so this should give you an idea of the size of this car. Size of the tires. Okay, let's grab our tape measure here. This thing has some really nice beefy shocks on it. They look to be about 1.5 inches on the adjuster. I'm going to go with 1.25 inches on the threaded part of the shock. They are 4-inch spring roughly, and about a 6.5 inch shock, depending on if you're counting the mount part or not. The front is a real beefy piece of aluminum there. You've got your front gearbox here, and again, this thing it's pretty heavy. Okay, go to the back. See, our wing measures 1 foot, and axle to axle, Mr. One-Hand Cameraman, looks like about 18 inches. And we're going to add, what, about 4 inches with the Well, I guess not with the back set. So you're gonna have about an 18-inch wheel span width, and then on your length, see if I can get a good center to center mark here, or edge to edge, which would be the same. We have around 22 1/4. Okay, so I pulled the front and back body clip off of it. There's our body off. And let's go get rid of this other insulator, or lug protector, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so let's turn this thing up. See if we can get a shot of the bottom here without scratching the gallery pieces. So this part is plastic. This is a fairly heavy aluminum. Looks like to be a little more than an 1/8 inch right here in this area. Probably all the way back. This is a little, looks to be maybe a little greater than an eighth of an inch barely, and then it's beveled up on the around the edges to this plastic portion. If you look inside, we got dual servos here, your throttle brake servo, carb over here, and this engine is mounted sideways to what a Baja buggy or so on would be. You have your transmission drive shaft system, your front drive shaft, which I don't know if I can do this from underneath. Runs up through there, and you can probably see the back drive shaft. Okay, I'm going to try to go as slow as I can so that you can really kind of look this thing over. One of the things I hate when I'm watching a lot of videos on stuff, I want to see how something's put together. That'll be the one thing they either go by it so fast you can't see it, or they skip that particular part. So I'm going to try to cover this pretty well here so you can see all these parts and how everything goes together, so on and so forth. Okay, I'll spin him around here. Another shot of this front end. And again, to give you some perspective on the size of this thing. They're big boys. So you can see the pin there. The adjusters are steel. Of course, these are a real high impact plastic. Your lower control arms are real high impact plastic on these things. These things are really tough as nails, I'll tell you. I've put them through heck and back, and I've never really had any severe breakage. Honestly, have more trouble with aluminum parts than we do the plastic parts. Okay, let's see if we can get a good shot of the bottom of this. Okay, using a couple tires there to keep it off of the wing. Get a nice little shot of the bottom here. And what this assembly looks like from the bottom. Of course, the other side should be a mirror image. Let's go to the back here. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it on its top here. And stick the front wheels on him. Or her. Whichever you prefer. And since this is going to be a display model, I'm not going to crank these down real tight. Put the front wheels on. It'll be a little easier for me to flip it back over. And of course I put the back ones on, but I can't get them because they're supporting it. So we can turn it over here. Gas can there for a jack stand. Put 2 back wheels on. Yep. There we go. Okay, snug that up a little bit. Now for the body. Let's go ahead and put a couple stickers on it so it don't look so bland. Whew. Not exactly how I wanted it to go on video, so I'm sure we'll cut parts of that out. Put these body pins back in, so the thing will quit moving around on me, which I should have done to start with. A genius I am not. Now if these don't lay down real good for you to right off the bat, just set them out in the sun for a little bit. They'll stretch out, and you can just simply take a needle and poke a hole, and you'll see the suspension working on this thing as I drop this front wheel off of the counter here. So what we're going to do is see if we can get this side one on. Now, if you're not good at putting these on, take a little Dawn dishwashing soap and some water, just a couple drops of Dawn, and maybe 6 ounces of water, 12 ounces, whatever. And you can wet this with that, and that'll allow your label to slide around, or your sticker to slide around. Then you can simply let it dry, and it will be stuck for good. So I'm going to put on the decals for a moment here. And we'll take some closer looks at some of this other stuff here. Okay, so there's our body back off. I don't know if this has any charge in it. Usually they come slightly pre-charged. And we need to get our radio out. So we'll back him up here a little bit and bring you back over here to the counter. There we go. Okay, so let's pull out the radio. Okay, so you got your throttle trim, steering trim. I believe this one is radio, your extents of your controls, so you can turn them down lower. Your on and off switch. And this one might be the extents on this one. Anyway, I'll have to get her hooked up to find out for sure. This is a different radio than what I've used, so I like the feel of it. It has a good grip to it. We're going to need some batteries. These RC cars. There's one of these testers. And we want to make sure these batteries go into the up to the. Usually these rechargeables just barely make it up to the green. So that one should be okay. That one's okay. And before I go out and run, I usually make sure I see that one's low. So we won't use that. And this one's really good. So this will be fine for demonstration purposes. I would not run this car with these batteries as their current state of charge. I would go get some little better charged batteries, or put these haven't been on the charger long enough to charge up fully. Okay, so there's our radio is on. We'll get it powered off and power it back on. Okay, over here on our car, okay, you'll notice this has a fuel cap that is spring loaded. I don't like them. Whenever you use this, either let it flip down firmly or flip it down and make sure you give it a push, because there's times where the slightest little piece of dirt or something will keep that from sealing and you'll get gas all over your car. So let's see if this has any power on it. It does look like we have power. Okay, so first thing we would do with this car is we would set when we're getting ready to run it, before we run it, is we want to make sure we set the toe in to where we want it. I'm not going to go into the specifics on that. The rear end, set your shock height accordingly to the surface you're going to be driving on. Okay, so We have our steering here. And then back it up, do that again. You see the steering. Okay. And then we have our trim here. So that would be the extent of the trim one way. And we have our trim the other way. I don't know if you can see that. Probably can't see that on there. So that's the trim. Okay, now let's find out on the extents. The way I usually find that is I'll go ahead and turn it all the way. Okay, so this is our extent. So if you're a beginner, you're not going to want this turned all the way up. You're going to want to back it off just a little bit. Not too far though, because you won't be able to make sharp enough turns. Okay, so we also have our throttle trim right here. And let's see if we can get this pulled up here. And you'll see our throttle and our brake work as one. That would be giving it throttle. This would be applying the brake. And typically what I do is we want to find out where that brake is engaging right here. So I'll pull that back and okay, I can see where that's engaging. And the same with the back brake. You see your brake disc in here, and you'll see when we tighten it up, that presses those two. Okay, so I find out where these extents are, and typically I'm going to hold this back, and then I'm going to apply this brake, and see where that just touches that. And I can tell this is going a little bit too far. So what I want to do is I want to adjust this out just a little bit. Now I'm not going to make these adjustments, but I will adjust this out to where when I'm applying full braking, that it is just putting pressure on it just enough to stop it from being able to turn the wheels. And the same with the back. You can adjust this in and out to the proper place. With your throttle, you want to make sure you're down against your idle when you're not giving it throttle. Let's see if we get pull this around here. Let's see. So here's your idle, and you want to make sure. Usually, before I start the car the first time, I will turn this idle screw out, keeping an eye on the throttle here. Just where she's touching. I do not ever fool with these carburetor screws when it's new. I've never had one fail to start, and I've never messed with them. After you break it in, you're going to need to do some fine tuning on these. You want to refer to the carburetor settings. I'll give you another video, or you can find those on our website. Not having this adjusted right, or not having your fuel mixed right, will lead to catastrophic failure on these cars. If you want them to run good, make sure your fuel is mixed correctly and the same every time. You may go mixing your fuel different each time, you're going to get different results. You get too much oil, it's going to bog down. You're going to get spooge in your exhaust, which is unburnt oil. And a lot of guys will change their mixtures or not pay that close of attention, and they go screwing around with their carburetors thinking there's something wrong with the car when you know it's not. When you go to start this car for the first time, one, you need to go over this whole car and make sure that all the bolts are tight. Typically they are, Doesn't hurt to double check them. You want to make sure your throttle is going to an idle. Make sure you have brakes. You want to turn on the radio and the car. And before you ever try to start it, make sure your throttle is working. You should not have to have the radio in your hand to start these cars. You're going to punch this bulb here 3 or 4 times until you see fuel in it. You're going to turn the choke on, which on this particular one, that is straight down with this red lever. I don't know if you can see that, but here's the choke lever. So put that straight down. You don't grab this rope and just yank it. You want to pull this rope out. Make sure that it is firmly tight. Pull it 18 inches or so. Do not ever pull this rope all the way out. So you're going to pull it out a little bit. Give it a crank. You're going to do this with the choke on until you hear it fire one time. Turn your choke off. You should be able to crank it once or twice and it should be running. Depending on the temperature outside, the octane of fuel you're running, it may die the first time. You may have to restart it. Should let it set for a couple, 30 seconds to a minute, and at least let it warm up for you. Other than that, just fuel these babies up and run the dickens out of them. They are a lot of fun. This car is available at rovan.neocities.org. Get one, you'll love it. Okay, we're going to plug this puppy in. Okay. The battery is going to be located back here. You can buy another battery for this thing. This wire runs all the way up through here and connects into the receiver up here. You got a couple little pieces of foam in here. Oopsie. Keep your battery from bouncing around when you're operating. Usually good to have one on the end and one on the top there. Okay, so now we're going to get her plugged in.